Quinn got in close to the student and was ready for whatever was to come. That's when the student had shape-shifted his hands into a claw-like shape and scratched at Quinn's body. The attack was slow, and Quinn was able to block but chose not to, and allowed the attack to scratch against his chest. HP is currently full, unable to use blood bank. It was as he had suspected. Although he took damage in the game, nothing had happened to his real body outside. He dashed forward, and when he was close enough, he threw out a blood swipe. The student lifted his claws to block, but the second the blood swipe made impact, his claws had shattered, and followed up behind the first blood swipe was a second one. Quinn got in closer to the student. By now, the student's claws had already regenerated. The student swung again, but this time, Quinn ducked underneath the attack and threw out a punch to the student's stomach, followed by another punch to the student's face, and finished him off with a cross-shaped dual blood swipe with both hands. Winner, Blood Evolver. Opponent has been defeated. 25 EXP has been earned. 305 of 400 XP. This was a large surprise to him, as Quinn didn't expect a fight in the game to contribute to points in his system, but at the same time, this was great news. But now that Quinn was able to level up, it solved his current problem of getting stronger without the need of consuming blood. Quinn immediately went to search for another game. He set the power level to level 1, that way he would be matched up against easy opponents. An opponent was almost found instantly, and Quinn got straight to work. And his plan worked. His first opponent was dealt with so quickly that Quinn didn't even have time to find out what ability he had. 25 EXP gained, 330 of 400. Quinn's next 3 opponents were dealt with just as easy as the other 2. 405 of 400 EXP. Congratulations, you are now level 4. Race, Halfling. HP, 25 of 25. 5 of 800 EXP. Strength, 13, 3. Stamina, 12. Agility, 14. For the first time since Quinn had leveled up, he hadn't received a new ability. He somehow had expected this, but at the same time was hoping for something useful. Finally, though, what Quinn had wanted had arrived. The reason why he wanted to level up so fast was because of the free stat point received after every level up. Agility 15. He immediately put the point into his agility stat, and now he could finally learn the flash step from the tutorial. After several minutes of Quinn practicing the flash step, he finally had a stroke of success. "Yes!" Quinn shouted. However, what Quinn did notice was while he was in the White Room on his own, his body would never feel tired. It meant the White Room acted like some type of training room, where they were unaffected by their physical body's restraints. With the flash step learnt, Quinn finally wanted to experience a fight with a tougher opponent. In the real world, you wouldn't be able to choose who you went up against, so it was important for Quinn to have experience fighting in all sorts of situations. Then, a few moments later, a match was found. This time, when Quinn entered the arena floor, he could see his opponent standing opposite him. He was wearing a long red cape, and by his side were 2 daggers. Quinn also realized they weren't alone either. "No, don't worry about him," the cape man said. "He's just my senior. He's watching me fight so he can give tips." Quinn then tried using his inspect skill on his opponent to see what power level or ability they had, but there was no luck. But before the match began, Quinn made sure to open up his status screen and decided to leave it open and off to the side. When both of them were ready, the countdown started over their heads. 3, 2, 1, go! The cape man took out his daggers and swung them out fast. 2 wind blades followed. The attack was similar to Quinn's blood swipe, only the distance the attack could be used was far greater and faster. Quinn then decided to attack with his own blood swipe. The 2 lines of power clashed in the middle and cancelled each other out. "A red color! What ability is that?" The cape man was wondering. This time Quinn charged forward. The caped man, seeing this, threw more wind strikes out, but Quinn just replied back with his own blood swipes, but this time sending out 4 of them. When the first 2 cancelled out the wind strikes, the next 2 carried on moving forward. That's when the caped man lifted his cape and spun around. The blood strike smacked into the cape, but there was no effect and not even a scratch left on the cape. "Is that beast armor, and a high-level one at that?" Quinn thought. The caped man swung his daggers out fast. Quinn lifted his hands and managed to grab onto the daggers, allowing the blade to just come out from his fingertips. Then suddenly, the aura around the daggers grew, and the wind forming around dagger allowed the ends of the blade to grow and act more like a sword, piercing Quinn in both shoulders. The capped man pulled back and went for another strike. I don't know what your ability is, but it's over, the capped man said. But then suddenly his dagger had hit nothing but empty air and space, and no one could be seen. As he turned around, a sharp claw penetrated the man's stomach. Then another attack after attack at great speed was tearing his stomach apart, and to finish him off, 2 more blood swipes. 25 experience gained, 30 of 800 experience. The man watching in the arena stood up on his feet as he saw his friend lose the match. The two of them so far had been on a winning streak. Taking it in turns, facing opponent after opponent, the sudden loss had come as a shock to them. That skill at the end, what was that? Then, just as Quinn was about to log out and go find another match, he heard someone call out to him. "Wait!" the man in the seat shouted. "Please fight me!" Quinn had no problem with this and accepted, but unknown to him, the man he was about to face was one of the strongest students from another military school. The student who had been sitting up in the stands and watching the fight between Quinn and his friend was known as Nate Snell. He was a second year from another academy, and in his academy he was well known for being one of the strongest second years. After asking Quinn for a battle, he was overjoyed that he accepted. For the two of them to start their match, they needed to add each other to their friends list first. "Hard Steely has sent you a friend request." Quinn accepted the friend request and was happy to fight. "Blood Evolver has accepted your friend request." Blood Evolver? Does his ability have something to do with blood? That would explain those red lines coming out from his hands, but was there such an ability in the system? Nate thought. There were thousands of different abilities in the system, so Nate wasn't sure of all of them, but he had fought many battles in the game, and this was the first time seeing someone with this type of ability. Before the match was about to begin, Nate had asked if he could speak to his friend Sam for a few moments. Quinn agreed, as he wanted to check a few things out himself. "You are such a fool," Nate said. "I know, I'm sorry," Sam replied. Nate looked at the flapping cape that Sam was wearing and started to shake his head. "We just got this incredible thing and you didn't even use it properly in the fight. When he went out from your view, if you had turned around your back, it would have been protected, or you could have turtled up with the cape." "It's hard to get used to having something on your back. If someone vanishes in front of you and you know they're behind you, you naturally turn around, wouldn't you?" Sam replied. Sam then started to look at the ground as he was saddened, remembering how he had lost the match. "My win streak," Sam cried. Nate proceeded to pat Sam on the shoulder with pity before walking to his fighting spot. "You know the deal. If I win against him, then that means I win our bet, and you'll owe me those credits." As Sam headed back to the arena stands, he was praying for Quinn to kick his friend's ass. He had lost too many bets recently and was running low on credits. 3, 2, 1, and the match had begun. Surprisingly, both of them at the same time had decided to charge in, and as soon as Quinn was within 5 meters, he threw out 2 blood swipes. Suddenly, Nat's speed dropped dramatically, his skin started to turn into a shiny material, and his footsteps were heavy. As the blood swipes reached and hit his body, the sound of metal clanging against each other was heard. For the first time when Quinn's attack had hit an opponent's body, it had done 0 damage whatsoever. The metal shine from Nate's body seemed to shift and now was concentrated in his arm. It allowed Nate to move a lot faster and close the distance. He pushed his hand forward, and out came a long metal silver pole. It was too fast for Quinn to react, and the pole dug into his stomach and continued to push him back. Quinn then grabbed onto the pole with both hands, and using all his strength, managed to stop its momentum. "Wow, looks like you're strong as well," Nate said, surprised. Not only did his opponent have a ranged attack, but seemed to have super strength now as well. Quinn was in front of him, ready to strike, but Nate remained calm and shifted the metal over his body to the exact spot where Quinn was aiming for his head. The punch landed, but Nate's head didn't even move a single inch, and again the game had recorded no such damage. Nate then grabbed Quinn's fist and with his other hand formed the pole, whacking him to the ground. "Come on, you should be better than this," Nate said. It had been a while since Quinn felt like this, weak. "Come on," Nate said as he shifted the metal pole back into his body and into one of his fists. Quinn once again charged forward and threw out a blood swipe. Nate blocked the attack, easily lifting his arm and knocking it away, but it was only meant to serve as a distraction in the first place. When Quinn got close enough, Nate threw out his fist, and at the same time, he responded with flash step, avoiding the strike and appearing behind Nate. Quinn then lifted his foot off the ground, let the energy go through from his toes up to his fist. As he stomped down with one foot, he pulled back one hand and let out another fist. Nate's eyes grew in shock as he saw the attack bring his health down by nearly half. Damn it, again, how is he so fast? As Nate turned to look at where his opponent was, he was surprised to see Quinn collapsed on the ground. Quinn was breathing heavily. He could no longer move. He had pushed his body way beyond its limits. "Let's do this again sometime," Nate said as he stabbed Quinn on the ground, ending the game. Although the match had ended in Nate's victory, he was more excited than ever. Looks like the military tournament is going to be a fun one this year. With that in mind, Quinn had set up an important meeting with Layla today. There was one thing he needed to learn about more than anything, especially if he wanted to get stronger in the future. It was a Sunday, so Quinn still had the rest of the day off, before having to go back to the standard military lessons for a week. The sun was out bright and early, and Quinn was standing outside the school gates, patiently waiting for Layla. "This damn sun," Quinn said while his body was covered in sweat. "All current stats have been halved." Ever since he had evolved from a human into a halfling, the sun seemed to bother him even more. Finally, after waiting a while, Layla arrived. She was wearing a beautiful red dress that showed off her long legs nicely, along with her short hair. "You ready?" Layla asked, smiling. Quinn looked at the large bag on her back. It must have been heavy, he thought. "Do you want me to carry that for you?" Quinn asked. Although with his stats halved and his strength draining from his body, he was hoping she would say no. "It's okay, the bag is lighter than you think. I'm using my ability to make it lighter," Layla replied. The two of them walked out of the school's premise and carried on walking until they eventually reached a nice quiet park. "Peaceful, isn't it?" Layla said. "Yeah, it's kind of nice." Layla placed the heavy bag on the ground, and it seemed like it was a weight off her shoulders. Even if she was using her ability, it would be tiring for someone to keep it up on the whole walk here. That's when Layla started to empty out all the contents in her bag. There were all sorts of things inside. There were several items of thick clothing such as hats, scarves, sunglasses, and most of it seemed to be black in color. "Did it cost a lot?" Quinn asked, worried after seeing how much she had bought. "Don't worry about it. My family sent me the credits, and I used up what the Academy gave me," Layla replied. "Besides, I got it all from the marketplace, so it was dirt cheap." The marketplace was an online store that was used all around the world. It sold your everyday items such as food, clothes, utilities, and other things. "So, what do you want to try first?" Layla said, holding the sun cream in her hand. The whole purpose of today was to find out if there was any way to either reduce the effect that the sun had on the system, or even temporarily stop it altogether, and there was no one better than Layla for the job. She knew everything about vampires, having grown up reading about them. She ordered whatever she thought might have been effective. Quinn looked at all the items that she had brought over. He then noticed a few more things on the ground with her. There was a metal-shaped cross, a clove of garlic, and even a piece of silver jewelry. "Oh, those are for later," Layla said, embarrassed, noticing Quinn staring at her stuff. "We should also try to find out if you have any other weaknesses of normal vampires as well." "All right, why don't we just try the umbrella first?" Quinn said as he knelt down to pick it up. He then stood still and popped open the umbrella. It was solid black in color to make sure that most of the light didn't penetrate or get through it. Quinn then adjusted the umbrella a few times to make sure his body was completely covered in the shadow. Then, to his surprise, stats had returned to normal. While Quinn was fully covered under the shade, his stats had returned. Then he lifted his hand and placed it outside the shade zone ever so slightly, and as soon as the tiniest part of his finger was outside the same usual status screen had appeared. "You are being affected by direct sunlight. All stats will be halved." "Well?" Layla asked. "It works, but even if a little bit of my body is in the sun, then I start to feel weak." This wouldn't do. Holding the umbrella, although it would return his stats, it would be difficult to use in a fight. But at last he found out that if he just carried an umbrella with him, he would no longer feel weak. "That's a special umbrella," Layla said. "It's one used to block out the UV from the sun. Although at most it can block out about 90%, it's not perfect. To be honest, I'm surprised it worked." "Is the UV rays why I feel weak then?" "Not necessarily. I mean, vampire lore is all over the place, but these myths had to be grounded somewhere, right?" Layla then looked at the ground and picked up the sun cream. If the umbrella really worked because of the UV, then some sun cream should have some effect. Layla then walked up to Quinn, squirting some of the cream onto her hand. "You ready?" Quinn then went a little red, thinking about Layla applying the cream onto his body. Looking at Layla now out of her school uniform, he realized that she was kind of cute. After making sure everywhere she could see covered in cream, To finish it off, she placed sunglasses over Quinn's eyes. "Although we can stop the UV on your eyelids, we can't on your eyeballs," Layla said. "Well, anything?" This time there was no such result. When opening up his status, the UV cream hadn't even made a little bit of impact. Quinn still felt incredibly weak, and his stats were still halved. "So it looks like it's not to do with the UV then. Although the umbrella worked, it can only block so much of the UV, and same with the cream. So I was hoping it would have some effect, but this means it's most likely some other property in the sun that we don't know about." Finally, it was time for the last test. This one Quinn was dreading the most, the clothes test. He was already sweating and feeling hot as it was, and couldn't imagine putting on a load of black clothing. First, Quinn placed a sweater over the top of his body, then a pair of black thick trousers on his feet. Instead of trainers, he changed to black boots. Then on his hand, a pair of leather black gloves. Finally, on his head, he had a large back top hat. Looking at him, Layla could barely hold in her laughter. He looked absolutely ridiculous. Breathe, Layla," she mumbled. "Well, anything?" "No, not yet anyway." "Well, we might as well try the rest." Layla then continued to place clothes onto Quinn. This time she had covered his face with a balaclava, and even where his eyes were, she had put a sleeping mask on. More hats were placed on, and now every inch of his skin was covered. "Anything?" "No!" Quinn shouted, but it sounded muffled through the clothes. "Wait, it's working," Quinn said. Although the clothes had worked, Quinn was around 3 inches thick in black clothing. "Well, you can't go out like that," Layla said. "You couldn't move in that thing." "Agreed, but at least we know that the most important thing is to stop the sun hitting me." Suddenly, a thought had entered Quinn's mind. When he had gone against Sam, he had used a cape that was able to block his blood swipe. The material was not only flexible, but strong as well. The cape was most likely made from some type of beast, from one of the portals. If Quinn couldn't get enough of this material, maybe he could make a suit of some kind that could not only protect him from the sun, but also be strong enough to be used in combat. A smile started to appear on his face. He now couldn't wait to be transported to hunt some beasts. Layla was eager to try out a few of the other things she had brought along with her. "Do I really have to worry about something like this?" Quinn said as he picked up a clove of garlic. "Inspect." "A clove of garlic. Due to your heightened senses, the piece may test extremely bad. Safe to consume." Quinn had actually expected this result before even using his inspect skill. The taste of food had slightly changed ever since his evolution. The only thing that still tasted fine for him was meat. Before touching any of the other items, Quinn made sure to use his inspect skill on each one. First was the metal cross. "A religious symbol that has no effect." Then the chain. "A silver chain that is made up of 92% silver. Wearing the item can be used as a fashion accessory." Quinn asked, "I kind of get the cross, but what about the silver? And they're just for werewolves?" Suddenly, Layla's eyes started to sparkle up. The first vampire was said to be cursed by the god Apollo, to be burnt by sunlight. Then, when the man tried to touch Artemis' bow, she cursed the human further to be affected by silver. Layla explained. Then, with the cross, vampires have always been seen as workers of the devil, a creature that needed to suck blood to live, and of course God, in the eyes of many, is a fighter of evil, and the cross is a symbol of the god. The only vampire weakness it seems you have so far is sunlight, although I have to admit that's a pretty big one. Do you feel like you're not getting older yet?" "What?" Quinn said, confused. "How would I even know? It's only been a few days." Then a dreaded thought had entered Quinn's mind. If it was true that he would no longer age, did that mean his appearance would stay the same as it did now? Would he look like a young teenage boy for the rest of his life? With the test over, it was time for the two of them to head back to their dorm rooms. But when he entered the room, once again neither Vorden or Peter was there. He couldn't help but shake the feeling that these new friends of Peter weren't actually friends of his, and was wondering what to do. On Monday morning, they were to attend a morning class with their teacher, Dell. The three of them sat in the back of the class as usual, while Layla sat at the front, with Aaron by her side. "All right, class, I have an important announcement to make. The preparations for your first portal outing have been completed. It's time for you kids to go explore the universe a bit more." They were often used to travel to other planets. The technology was obtained when humanity managed to take down their first Dalki ship and discovered a portal inside. In today's world, there were generally 3 different groups of people who had and owned portals. The military was the first group. Next were private corporations. They usually had powerful originals backing them, Many of these companies would also form a faction, a group of powerful travelers, just for exploring other planets. And lastly was the group known as Pure, a group that didn't believe in the use of abilities. There were 3 types of portals, each different in color. There was green, orange, and red. Green meant that the planet it led to had already been explored, and there were human shelters that had been built. The next was orange. This meant that the planet hadn't been fully explored yet. There were some shelters in place, but the level of the beast could be too high in certain areas, or they just hadn't explored everywhere yet. And finally, the red portals. These were unexplored planets. There were no shelters for regular humans to live in. Only travelers or military personnel would usually go into these portals for exploration, and the worst thing about them was they didn't know if the Dalki were on the planet as well. A student then raised his hand while seated in the center of the class. "What about the beasts that were discovered on those planets? Will we learn about them?" "For now, that's all you need to know about the portals. Yes, this also led us to discover beasts on these planets, and they are what we use to create our beast weapons. But you will be told more detail about that when you arrive," Dell explained. "Now for the important part. The portal expedition will take place next week, but before even that, you will be required to form your own team of 5. The same student once again raised his hand, and Dell had a look on his face like it was starting to get annoying. "Do you know where we will be going?" "That information will be revealed to you on the day. Many of you here have family members who, if they knew where you were, would send guards out to protect you on these planets, but that wouldn't be fair, especially since we will also be assessing you on this. Now, if there aren't any more questions, your combat classes for today are canceled. Today you are to form a team of 5 and report back to us by the end of the day." Vorden then turned his head immediately. "Hey, Quinn, you want to be on the—" But standing by Quinn's side already was Layla, who had sprinted from the front of the class to the back. "Hey, do you want to make a team with me, Quinn?" Layla said, smiling. Sure," Quinn answered. Truthfully, Quinn wanted to ask Layla to be on the same team. They didn't know how long their first assessment was going to take, and if he was to get hurt or injured, he was going to need a blood source of some type. Even if Vorden didn't like it, he knew this was going to happen. "Hey, Quinn, do you mind if I join as well?" he said, smiling, trying to hide his annoyance. "Of course, and Peter as well." Peter's face was a little shocked at hearing the sound of his name, and at the same time his feelings were confused. "Yeah, that would be good," Peter said. Then, when the others were just thinking about who the 5th member should be, Aaron had approached Vorden, of all people in the room. "I want to make a team with you." Not only were Quinn and the others shocked that Aaron had approached Vorden, but so was the whole class. "I'm sorry," Vorden said, "but I've already decided to make a team with these guys." Vorden's response to Aaron seemed to be even crazier to everyone else as well. Aaron then looked at the group of people who Vorden pointed at. "Who are they?" Aaron said. "What? We took the test together. I even helped you out at the assembly hall," Layla complained. "Why would you stay with these weak people? Surely you can get a better grade if you join me and a few others," Aaron said. "I don't care about the grades. I just want to have fun while I'm still in school," Vorden replied. "Fine, I can accept the girl and the strangely strong boy, but I can't accept him," Aaron said, pointing at Peter. Peter's heart suddenly started to thump louder. If he didn't get in Vorden's and Quinn's team, he would be in huge trouble. "Why do we need you anyway?" Vorden said. "Wait a minute," Layla interrupted. "I think she would make a good addition to the team. Besides, Vorden, doesn't your ability rely on those around you to be strong as well?" "Layla, I understand what you're saying, but for once I agree with Vorden," Quinn replied. "I don't care how strong she is. She can't just come in and kick one of us out. She can join the team, but only if Peter stays." "Fine, I will join, but I wish for the 5 of us to have a retesting to see where we stand," Aaron asked. "Perhaps we can go visit the training center, display what we can do to the rest." "Well, what do you want us to do?" Vorden asked. "I've already seen your powers, but I can't remember too much about the girl and the other 2. Perhaps the girl can go first on the strength machine." "Damn it, same as last time. Looks like I haven't improved much," Layla complained. "For a level 2, that's a quite weak strength score, but judging by the bow, you're a ranged user anyway. It will be quite handy to have someone like you on the team," Aaron said. "Well, I'm hoping that both of you can at least get the same score as her." "Looks like he's still level 1 then," Aaron said. As Peter went to punch the machine, the earth around from the pole started to form around his fist. "Well, what are you waiting for?" Aaron said, looking at Quinn. As Quinn walked up to the strength machine, all he wanted to do was punch the machine as hard as he could. He wanted to shut up the arrogant Aaron, who felt like she was better than everyone else. but Quinn couldn't reveal himself here, especially in front of the others. He readied his fist and redid his footwork. The gauntlets were equipped on his hands, and Quinn let his fist out. Bang! "Hey man, didn't you get stronger?" Vorden said, surprised. "I thought you got a 5 on the test last time. You been working out or something?" "Actually, it was thanks to that game you showed me," Quinn replied. "I met someone who really helped and showed me how to activate the beast weapon strength properly. I worked hard hoping I wouldn't be useless for you guys." This was a lie, but Quinn felt like it was quite convincing. "Didn't the second year say you needed to treat it like activating your ability, though? I thought you didn't have one." "Apparently that isn't a requirement, but just to help you visualize activating your beast weapons," Quinn replied back. "Well, a score of 10 isn't that impressive. The only reason we are talking about it is because you're level 1, Aaron said. "Is this okay then?" Layla asked. "Yes," Aaron replied. "I still wish to join your team. I believe even with the extra luggage we have on board, with me and Vorden, we can come out as the top team during this assessment." "Well, if combat classes have been cancelled for the day, is there anything you wanted to do?" Vorden asked. "Actually, I was planning to head to the VR capsules," Quinn replied. "You can go ahead," Vorden said. "I know I showed you how to play the other day, but to be honest, I'm sick and tired of that game." With Quinn heading off to the VR room, that left Peter and Vorden all on their own. "Hey, so do you want to practice a bit more with your ability? I know you're saving up so you can buy a few more skill books. Maybe we can get you to a level 2 before heading off into the portal." "Sure, that sounds like a good idea," Peter replied. But Peter's strange actions didn't go unnoticed, and Vorden had a feeling it had something to do with those students he went to hang around with a few days ago. Quinn had finally arrived at the VR center. He decided while inside the capsule he would split his session into 2 halves. For the first 30 minutes, he would spend it facing against level 1s. Then, for the second half of the session, he would use it searching for quick matches, battling against opponents of all different strengths. Quinn entered the game and started his first match with his plan. That's when Nate noticed that the ID Blood Evolver was online. Nate then was suddenly transported into the arena, and all that he witnessed was Quinn defeating weak level 1s in a matter of minutes. "Let the grinding begin," Quinn said as he took down his next opponent. 170 of 800 EXP. Nate continued to observe Quinn and his fighting style, and wondered just why he didn't fight the same as when he fought against him. Finally, 30 minutes had passed. That's when Quinn noticed that he had a spectator. Nate, who was sitting in the seats, gave a wave back. "Oh, it's him. I wonder what he's doing here." Then a thought came to Quinn's mind. He then went on to the game system and sent out a party invite to Nate. Nate was too curious and wanted to know what Quinn wanted and decided to accept. "Hey, how are you doing? I hope you're not planning some type of revenge, are you?" Nate said as he proceeded cautiously towards Quinn. "No, actually, I wanted to ask you something. The person who I fought with before, your friend, I wanted to know more about his cape and where he had received it from." "Oh, Sam's cape. That's why you wanted to talk to me." Nate then looked at Quinn standing in front of him. In his hands he wore his gauntlets. "Wait a minute, are you a first year?" Nate said. Yeah. I will be going on my first portal outing. I thought if you could tell me what type of beast you got it from, I would be able to look for it." Nate was suddenly a little surprised. He thought about how Quinn was able to damage his solid body, even though no one had done such a feat before. He was sure the person would have been at least a second year. "Let me give you a piece of advice then. On your first outing, they always use the green portals. You have the chance of going to one of 3 places: Cality, Alpin, and Bartney. Out of these 3 planets, you want to go to Cality. There in the desert, there's a winged creature. I can't remember the name, but there aren't many in the desert, so I'm sure if you see one, that will be it. That beast core is what we made the cape out of." "Wait, did you say a desert?" Quinn asked. "Yeah, what's wrong with that?" "Don't worry. Thank you so much for the information. You've been a big help. I'm going to play a few more games now before my time is up." "Oh, sure, go ahead. Do you mind if I watch?" Nate asked. Quinn thought about it for a while. He was just fighting people. It wasn't like he was doing anything that suggested he was a vampire. "Sure, go ahead." Quinn only had 20 minutes left inside the machine. His first match, he was against a level 4 user who had a transformation ability. His body was made of a rubber-like material, and he was able to stretch it as far as he liked. Quinn struggled against this opponent. The fighting style of the rubber man was strange, and when Quinn wasn't expecting it, he would be hit at an incredible speed. In the end, Quinn managed to get a few blood swipes in and hurt the man, but still ended up losing. Quinn's time in the game was up, and he had to leave. Nate, after watching Quinn for the whole time, had a strange thought lingering on his mind. Just what was Quinn's ability? After their battle, Nate had decided to check out the ability list to see if there was anything similar, and he could find no such thing. What Quinn didn't realize, though, was that all the opponents he had faced that day were thinking the same thing as Nate. They were wondering just what ability Quinn had. The user Quinn had just fought was so frustrated he decided to go onto the online forums and make a post. He shared a video of the match between himself and Quinn titled, "What ability is this? Is he a hacker?" The online forum had started to post comments just below about the video. "Yeah, I fought against him too, and he used those red lines on me. I lost in an instant. Is there really an ability like that in the game? It looks like wind slash, but why are the lines red?" The video started to ping the creators. One of the admin staff for the game came along and checked the video, but this person wasn't any ordinary admin. Logan Green was the son of the creator of the game and was one of the head coders. He often visited the forum to check for bugs while still attending school. Logan immediately could tell that the video was real. He searched up the two user IDs and then decided to look at the match information. After searching them up, he noticed that the player in the video had selected no ability. No, it couldn't be. Did he really manage to hack the system? Logan then began to dig in deep into the match and checked everything about it. He checked the log of the game and everything that had been written down as the match went on, but there wasn't a single thing he could find that was wrong. The next day, combat classes had resumed back to normal. Layla the other day had gone to register the team with Dell. The group became the talk of the class. After all, they were the only ones with such a huge difference in power levels between the team. Something that hadn't happened in the school before. Inside the second year's office, a group of first years had been called into the General Duke's office. Standing at the front of the first years was Earl, the same boy who had recently been hanging around with Peter, as well as the one who had broken his fingers. "I've made sure that the room will be empty for you tomorrow. Make sure you do as I asked. I need you to get rid of them," Duke said. "Yes, sir, we promise." "Good," Duke replied as he threw over a couple of beast crystals as well as a skill book. "You should be able to progress to level 4 with that skill. Carry on working hard and there will be more." The next day after combat classes had ended, Peter had messaged for Vorden and Quinn to come to the training room on the east side. This room was usually off-limits to students, since it was also used as a room to store portals. "Did you get Peter's message?" Quinn asked. "Yeah, that's why I'm here. I knew those friends of his were bad news," Vorden said. "Quinn, you stay behind. I can deal with this myself." "No way. He's my friend, too. I'm going to kick those guys' asses if it's the last thing I do." The room was large, and there were several large metallic objects with an oval shape in the middle. Each one of them had a glowing circle in the middle, shining with a different color. These were the portals that took them to another world. When they had entered the room, they could see that Peter was lying on the ground, badly hurt. Quinn and Vorden looked around the room, but were unable to notice anyone. They both then rushed over to his side. "What happened to you? Was it those first-year students?" Vorden shouted. "Yeah, they got me pretty bad. They went out for just a moment. I don't think they're going to come back." "All right, let us pick you up," Vorden said, as he lifted Peter's hand over his shoulder. As the two of them picked up Peter, Quinn had a strange feeling. "Inspect. Peter Chuck, HP 8 of 8. Vorden, let go of him. It's a trap," Quinn shouted. But before Vorden could even realize what was happening, Peter had broken free and immediately pushed Quinn as hard as he could. He had entered the portal. "What have you done?" Vorden shouted. The color of the portal was red.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.